tutorial, we are going to add an object in the background and make it move across the screen. Okay, and we're going to give the illusion that the character is moving by moving an object in the background. So what I did is in Photoshop, I created an object. I created this little apple tree. You create your own object, whatever you want to be in the background. You want a house, a building, a car, whatever you want in the background. And then you go File, Export, and then do the quick export as a PNG. And save it into the folder that you want. Now notice the checkered background means that it's invisible and transparent. It's transparent, so that's why I'm doing the quick export as a PNG, and I already did that before I started the tutorial, and I put it in my folder here. Okay, so great. Now what I'm going to do is drag that into Unity, into this graphics folder. So let's go ahead and get back to this folder here and drag the tree into the graphics folder. You'll see that there's a white box behind it, and that means we have to select it and change the texture type to sprite and 2D. Great. And hit apply. And now you can see that it's invisible, transparent. Okay, now we could just drag this up here if you'd like. You could do it that way. Sometimes I create an object first and then put this inside of it, but that's how I did it this time. I'm just going to go ahead and drag the tree right here on the stage, and you can see its position is here, the X, Y, and Z coordinate. And I just kind of want to, I'm swiping on the mouse and I'm holding Option down to take a look at things here. And you could see that here's the camera and here's the tree. Let's move this. I'm going to drag this on the Y axis, or actually this is the Z axis. And you could see in the transform over here, the Z coordinate is now behind the camera, and now I'm getting in front of the camera, and I want to go behind the player and the ground. So you can see the coordinates where they are, and I'm just going to set this at a 1 to keep it a nice whole number, and it is behind the ground, right? The ground is at, oh no, they're the same. So I'm going to change the tree to a 2, make it go a little bit further behind. Okay, and you might want to raise it up or down depending on what you need. Okay, so there we have it, and then let's go ahead and click this 2D and see what that looks like, and let's go ahead and move the tree a little bit to the right side. Okay, if you want that tree to get bigger, you change the scale or something like that. So now let's just get right into writing a script that can move this tree across the screen. So what's really cool is you can click right here, Add Component, and it's going to add a new script in here. Let's try that. So we'll hit Tree, we'll hit Add Component, we're going to hit New Script, and I'm going to call this Movement Script. Okay, Movement Script. And then I'm going to hit Enter, and it will create a script here for me. And now if I come over here and double click this, I guess I could click it there as well. I'm going to double click the movement script, and it will open up the Visual Studio Editor. And I'm going to write some code in here, and we're going to get it to move. Now I've created a little cheat sheet for myself. You're going to basically just watch what I type and type the same thing. I put a little cheat sheet over here, and I'm going to set up a couple of little variables up here. So underneath the public class movement script, you can hit Enter, and you are going to type public float. A float is you could think of it as a number that can be decimals. It's not just integers, and that's what the X and Y coordinates are referred to. The X, Y, and Z are all float coordinates. Okay, so I'm going to just set this at 2, and then the F, it's kind of weird. You have to put an F for float after the number. When they're whole numbers, technically you don't have to, but it's just good practice to keep it there, because when you put a decimal, you have to have the F. And then I made this public bool. Bool means whether it's going to be true or false, or like a 1 or 0. True or false, 1 or 0, if you want to think in computer code. And I made this name up, just destroy, and it equals false. And there's going to be a reason for it. And I'll show you that in a bit. So this line here is what we need next. Command C, and I'm going to paste it here. And you need to type this just right. It says transform.translate. And this right here, this negative means it's going to go to, it's going to make it go to the left instead of the right. But time.delta time is built into Unity, and it's just like a time count that's going on in the background in the Unity engine. And then this asterisk means multiply. You can find the asterisk on the, if you hold shift and push the 8 key on your keyboard. And then move speed is this variable up here, and we set it to 2, so it'll be, it'll just keep going in time, getting increased by 2. And then this is the Y coordinate, and this is the Z coordinate, and then we are referencing the camera here. So I am going to copy and paste this right above here just for reference. I put X, Y, and Z just so you could kind of understand that this value in front of that comma is the X coordinate, this is the Z's, the Y's change, and this is the Z's change. So when you translate, I guess it's the change from its current position to, in the next frame, it's going to make it change by this much. Okay, so let's just save this, Command S, or File Save. Okay, so I'm sorry, I said Command S. When I go from PC to Mac, sometimes I get my Control and Command mixed up. So now when I come back here, if I don't have any errors, and I can hit this console, it'll fire off an error warning if I wrote something wrong. And when I push play, let's see if that code executes. It's doing it. Okay, so the tree is moving and it's in the background. Now, some of you might think, well, that's entirely too slow for my liking. Ooh, and you notice it disappeared right here. It disappeared right before I had turned it off. There's a couple things to factor in for that. So let's just real quickly examine something. I'm going to move it across to the left, and ooh, interesting. It's because the camera width, the view area of the camera it's interesting. So let's take a look. So let's move this tree across, and let's get to where it disappears. And I'm going to look at camera, and let's play with this field of view. Interesting. Okay. That zooms it in and out. I'm going to push Command Z. And then why is the tree disappearing? Whoops. Let's get into 3D mode. And you can see where the limitations of the camera are. It's kind of intersecting right there, so anything out of its view would, if I zoom the camera out, you could see that the tree now appears. Let's try something else. Let's change from perspective to orthographic. Orthographic is what I think we're going to go ahead and switch it to. So on your camera, let's go orthographic, and that will keep things in a two-dimensional perspective. Let's move the tree back over to here to the right. And if we want to, we can pan the camera back, or we could increase yeah, we can increase its distance from the screen and move it forward, play around with those settings. But here we go. Let's see what it looks like now when we put play. So we changed the viewport to orthographic, which works okay for our 2D game. Now, we were saying that the tree is going too slow. Now, if you remember in this code, we wrote move speed, and it's a public float. This word public here does something in Unity. So if we take a look at the movement script, because we made it public, it puts the move speed here, and we could actually change it from this editing environment. So let's just change it to 10. So we could take a look now and push play. And that's quite a bit faster. Now the tree goes way, 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 way off into the distance over here, and it just keeps going and going and going and going forever. So let's finish off that code a little bit. So if we come back here, and if I take my little cheat sheet, I wrote this paragraph, or this part of the code here that says, let's go ahead and click here, and you're going to need to type all of this, and I'll read it to you. If transform.position x is less than 15, so if the x position is less than 15, and you might have caught on that I didn't put an F there because it's a whole number, I can get away with it. And if you're not just going to destroy this object, then let's reset it to the right side of the screen at a positive 15. So negative 15 on the x coordinate will put it all the way to, off to the left, and then its transform y is going to stay the same, and so is its z. Otherwise, if we say to just destroy it, it's going to destroy it after it gets to negative 15 on the x-axis. Okay, so let's save this, test this out. So the tree, when it gets to negative 15, which is about right there, okay, it's either going to get destroyed or not. Now, how do we know if it's going to get destroyed or not? This checkbox right here. If I check it, it gets destroyed. If I uncheck it, it won't. And that is because I wrote this code here that says public bool just destroy. And Unity's pretty neat. It makes a little checkbox here to make that true or false. So let's hit play and watch that tree go. Goes across, and it gets all the way to about negative 15, and then it restarts to the right. Why did it restart to the right? Because in this code it says if it's not just going to get destroyed, then reset its x, y, and z coordinate to 15 on the x, which is all the way to the right, and then keep its y and z the same. Now let's click the just destroy little checkbox and see what happens when it gets there. So if we hit click this, so now the tree is going to get destroyed after it goes off the screen just one time. Okay, let's demonstrate one more time what that looks like if we uncheck it. Okay, so there you go. So if you want a repeating object, you can do it that way, and if you want to make it just go by one time, you can click destroy. While you're testing this game out, what if we click it now? Will it get destroyed? Yes, pretty neat stuff. You can play around with it, and then since you're in play mode, it doesn't save anything. So if you take a look, it did not save that check mark because I was just experimenting while you're in play mode. That's a built-in thing for with Unity. And I've noticed that my ground needs to be raised up a bit because in this new orthographic camera, the ground looked too low. Okay, so go ahead and have fun creating an object, move it in the background. You can make any object you want move in the background as long as you're having fun. Have fun.